What is up, guys? You can never go wrong with an elf. Cute, petite, majestic, and beautiful. Youthful by nature, pointy ears, and often very wise. The traits that often add up to some of the best characters in storytelling. However, surprisingly enough, it is probably easily the least utilized race in so many series. Thankfully, it seems like we're getting somewhat of a resurgence in elves in anime lately. So I thought it was best time as any to highlight my top 10 favorite elves of anime, or as some would call it, the top 10 pointy-eared waifus. So, with all that said, let's just jump right into it. Kicking off my number 10, I have the half-elf Musil from Outbreak Company. Now, Musil herself really highlights the thing that I loved so much about Outbreak Company. Despite the fact that it is a very comedy-centric series, it's very funny. I mean, the whole concept is a guy going through this portal to another world for the government to essentially introduce otaku culture to this other race so that they can dumb them down. But Musil is a half-elf, and she is discriminated against by both humans and elves alike. And so she kind of introduces the concept within the series that I think is the wholesome and heartbreaking aspect of the story. Discrimination. And it's obviously because Shinichi accepts her immediately because, my gosh, she's a half-elf. She's hot, she's beautiful, she's cute, all those things put in one, that she kind of devotes herself to aiding him in every way that she can. She becomes the elf maid. But it's kind of seeing her determination, how much she pushes effort into learning the Japanese language and assisting him in every way that she can, that pretty much shows why she is so fantastic. Not just the fact that she is extremely cute and she's devoted, but the fact that she works really hard, and on top of that, she's extremely skilled. She used to be a part of the military, and she's very powerful. She kind of has everything all bottled up in one that makes her one of the best elf characters in anime. Moving on to my number 9, yes, despite the fact that I wasn't a big fan of So Must Matter What, at least the anime adaptation, I haven't checked out the novel series yet, there's literally like 2 aspects of the story itself that honestly is driving me to want to actually check out the novel series. And one of those aspects is Philomos, the teacher. My heart really broke for her story. The whole concept is that she tried very hard to be the teacher that everybody liked. And even despite the fact that they're transported to this other world and she's reincarnated as this elf, she makes it her goal to find every single one of the students and bring them to safety. And the thing that makes it most tragic is the fact that she has this unique skill that allows her to see the status of all those students. So she knows when they actually die and the things that they're actually going through. It's a really heartbreaking story, and really seeing her driving force and how much she goes out there and sticks her neck out there for these students really is probably one of the most interesting aspects of the story itself. My heart broke for her, and every time she was on the scene, I really did like her character. Moving on to my number 8, I have High Elven Archer. Yes, of Goblin Slayer. I really love this tomboy. She is absolutely a spitfire. I love her personality. I love the chemistry that she adds to the series. And yes, really getting into her backstory is really fascinating. This idea that, yes, typically in a lot of stories, the elves are very isolated. They keep away from the outside world. They kind of keep stuck in their little bubble. And Elf Archer is one of the rare cases where she wanted to go out and see the world. And it's something to be said that despite the fact that she comes out there, she sees the world itself and sees the horrors within it. Sees the horrors that really honestly is the reason why a lot of these elves stay kind of secluded, yet still pushes forward. She joins Orkbolg and essentially becomes his scout, become his eyes and ears to aid the group as they kind of go into dungeons and everything. Yes, adding to the fact that her seiyuu is now Toyama, which she just honestly is one of my favorite seiyus of all time. She just melts my ears. All that stuff and her personality and the chemistry with the others all kind of adds up to making her one of my favorite elf characters in anime. For my number 7, I have Lafiel Albriel, which is, of course, from Crest of the Stars and Banner of the Stars. Now, this is a character that is kind of deep rooted in my mind. It's been a long time since I've seen the series, but honestly, it's a character that is always kind of been cemented in my mind as one of my favorite elf characters. Now, yes, disclaimer, they're not necessarily called elves in that series, but they do have the pointy ears. They're sort of like space elves. I think most people comically call them space elves. They're kind of this advanced race that is kind of going around and taking over a lot of different planets and civilizations themselves. She's kind of one of those types of princess type characters that I really do love. Despite the fact that she is of like this royal blood, of this noble family, she doesn't let that really drive her. She actually prefers that people kind of stand as her equals. That's the whole reason why she befriends the main character of the series, is because he doesn't see her as a princess. And that's something that she actually likes. But it's over time and seeing her development that really does sell me on her character overall. She's a type that takes action whenever it's needed. She's almost like very self-sacrificing in a lot of ways. And seeing her character growth over time and the struggles that she goes through with the responsibility of the care of her crew and everybody around her, that really does cement her as being such a fantastic character and person in general. And that leads us into number 6, Kokoro of Princess Connect Redive. I absolutely adore Kokoro. She's a character that whenever she's on the scene, whenever she's on the screen itself, you just want to give her a hug. She's just so freaking cute, and I love her character. Honestly, it's kind of going in the realm of a character that is extremely devoted to the main character, because obviously with the opening of the series, this Yuki falls from the sky, and Kokoro was told to come there and guide him. And so when she arrives, she immediately calls him master and starts taking care of him and protecting him and showing him around. He has no memories, so she essentially is his lifeline. And I think you add in the fact that Miku Ito, the seiyuu for her, has like almost this soothing and comforting voice. It all kind of culminates into a character that, again, like I said earlier, is a character that you just want to hug. You just want to hug her and keep her safe. She's just that pure and that adorable. And yes, she adds so much to the chemistry and the comedy of the series itself. I mean, yes, all of the X mouth faces that just we all adore to see. I really did adore her character, and it's another one of those things that just adds to my heartbreak that the mobile series has been pretty much cut for global, because I was waiting with all my gems ready to get her princess version, but that's an argument for another day. Moving on to my number 5, I have Elf. God, I gotta say the name here. Suzail, Geger, Zegalnelv, Zegirea, Gran Zelga, Elga, from Uncle from Another World, or commonly known as Tsundere Elf. I absolutely 100% from beginning to end, all over the place, full mass, absolutely love Elf. She is just so many things in one. Yes, it's her tsundere nature. I admit it. I absolutely love her tsundere nature. She's so freaking fun. But yes, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's got a cute side. Her stalkery nature is very fun. There's so many aspects of this character that I absolutely adore. Every time she's in the show, it's just comedy gold. It's just, I love her to death, and I just want her to come out of the screen. I know it's getting scary right now, but I love her that much. I think the thing that kind of sells me so much on her character is that, yes, it is the tsundere nature. I love that nature of her where she doesn't want to admit how much she absolutely adores Uncle, but it kind of takes it to another level because she's in the tsundere stalker territory, where no matter where Uncle goes, no matter how much he travels, she just happens to show up. Oh, I just happen to be in this place. The misunderstandings that come from her receiving a ring from him and everything, every single bit of her, she's just absolutely fantastic. And the artwork around her is just, it's chef kiss. She's absolutely gorgeous. Her dress that she once had, I love it. Everything about her is just phenomenal. Moving on to my number 4, I have Amelia from ReZero. Now, storytelling time. I didn't really care so much for Amelia in the first season. Now, my heart hurt for her. Similar to Musil, we have a character who is half elf. Everybody sees her as evil. No, there's so much discrimination around her. And yes, of course, Subaru comes in the picture, and him being, again, an otaku that understands the beauty of a half-elf, he's like the first person to really kind of accept her and her nature, besides Puck. But that was about where I kind of drew the line with Amelia's characters. I felt bad for her, but I really never made a connection to her. It wasn't until we get the OVAs and the second season that immediately it just clicked for me. Her character suddenly had so much depth to it, and I was completely sold on her. Seeing what she went through in her past, all the struggles that she's dealt with, all the horrific things that she's gone through, the struggles that she has with her own power itself, all that stuff kind of built up to this climactic moment where we finally see Amelia stand up despite her past. Having all this stuff in play, yet she still stands up, she still steps forward. It really did kind of broaden my perspective of her as a character and really did make me want to root for her and hope that she pushes forward and overcomes the trials that she's facing. And yes, obviously adding the fact that Rie Takahashi is voicing her does technically add quite a bit to her character. I can't wait to see more of her, but yes, easily one of my favorite elf characters in anime. Moving on to my number 3, there are 2 characters that I think about when I think about like pretty much the earliest waifu characters that I've ever experienced in anime. Yes, number 1 is Belle Dondi from Amagatis. She was easily the first I just absolutely adore her character. She was gorgeous. My young self went doki doki. The other one was Dlet of Record of Lodoss War. Easily probably one of the most legendary elves of anime history. If you ask anybody that has been around in anime for a long time, they're going to know who Dlet is. Now granted, the storytelling in Record of Lodoss War, at least the anime, wasn't the most complicated story, but still, Dlet was a character that cemented in my mind as one of my favorite characters of all time. She's got that eternal beauty about her. She's gorgeous, she's very graceful, and yes, she's highly, highly skilled. She's got the smarts to go with the beauty itself. And yes, she's the type of character that's in the front lines. She's not the type that's hiding on the sidelines waiting for somebody to save her. She's in the battle. She's very skilled. She's very quick. And yes, she's very powerful. And honestly, it was kind of heartbreaking watching the series because obviously she gets very invested with the main character, Parn, despite the fact that he doesn't really see her advancements that she does, which often turns into a lot of fun little moments of her just being frustrated with him not getting the point. She's just a very beautiful character overall and easily one of my favorite characters of all time. And that gets us into number 2 and pretty much the reason for this list. And yes, that is the recent arrival of one of the greatest elf characters that I've ever experienced, which is Frieren of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I absolutely, through and through, 100%, there's no denying it, love Frieren's character. This is a character that early on, I really didn't think I was going to get much out of. She seemed like the stone cold, doesn't have any emotion, emotionless doll character that really doesn't really see anything around her as troubling or responds to anything. But it's through getting her story that we see so many other complicated sides of her character. We get to see her tragic backstory, we get to see her upbringing, her training, and see all the things that would ultimately build her as not being very social. But despite her being kind of molded that way, we see that she's slowly learning those emotions again. She's learning experiences, and yes, unfortunately, having the massive amount of regrets around the idea of not really paying much attention to things that are going on around her. Over time with her journey, we're seeing her kind of open up and show those other sides of her personality. And every single time we see one of those sides, it's just an absolute treasure. Seeing her clever side, seeing her mischievous side, seeing her lazy side, all these things that ultimately remind you, wait, no, she's just like any other person. She does have a personality. It's just almost like she's slowly kind of being cracked open, and we're seeing those other sides of her as it's naturally being progressed. I just can't get enough for her character. She's protective, she's amazing, she's smart, she's goofy, all these other things that really kind of mold her as being easily one of my favorite characters, and enough that I went out and had to get a display because I love her that much. And that leads into my number 1 favorite elf character in anime history. A character of Mushoku Tensei Jabba's reincarnation. Yes, Elves Dragon Road. Now, honestly, truth be told, I wasn't really sold on Elves early on. In the first season of the anime, I was pretty much like, oh, it's the thirsty character. It's the overly thirsty elf. She's constantly got guys around her. She's constantly trying to rope somebody into a big, massive thing inside of a bedroom. I didn't care. It wasn't until we get into the second season, you start to see these other sides of her. And she's ultimately like a case study of don't judge a book by its cover. This is somebody that you just assume she just wants to sleep with a lot of people. Big whoop-de-doo. But then you learn about her curse. You learn that it's something that she technically has to do, even though she claims that it's something that she's fine with doing. And yes, there's something to be said about somebody that will put aside their life, travel the entire world to find the family members of a party member that she didn't even like, putting pretty much their lives ahead of her own. And that all plays into really the crucial reason why I like Ellen Lace's character. Truth be told, a lot of my love for her is yet to be adapted. Now, I won't get into the specifics of it because I'm sure that a lot of people that are watching this video have not read into the novel series. I'm pretty much like 20 episodes ahead of what the anime has adapted so far. And I'll just say that it gets even better. Her character has so much going on with it. There's regrets, there's fears, there's insecurities, and there's just these pinnacle points of her just being an incredibly skilled warrior. Through and through, without a doubt, there is no competition. Ellen Lace is easily one of my favorite elf characters, and honestly, one of my favorite characters in anime of all time. And that is it. For some honorable mentions, I love Elda from Otaku Elf. She's just so relatable. She is just a little monster, and I just relate to her in so many ways. Aina from Danmachi, I have a thing for the guild mistress lady, the lady that's at the adventure guild that is always kind of helping people out. But she kind of takes it a step further in the idea that how much she loves Belle and is always going out of her way to study wherever he's going and try to give him all the information that he needs to make sure that he comes back alive. I love Shara from How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, even though she's not my favorite character of that series. She's got a lot of great moments in the series, and I just kind of learned to love her. Vegan from Peter Grill and His Philosopher's Time. She's pretty much my second favorite of the harem in that show. Epsilon from Eminence and Shadow. She's easily, I think, my second or third favorite of the Shadow Garden. And then finally, Fiore and Fiora from Overlord. I just love those two. They're just kind of that weird oddity of, like, they're so cute, but yet they do, like, crazy dark things. I love them either way. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this video as always. If you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what your favorite elves are in anime. If you don't have to give me a top 10 list, just give me a list of whatever you like in your order. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button's got my content. I did news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody does, and y'all take care.